Is spotter plane worth on Zal? It's pretty nice. Mostly use it for smoke firing, but it can have other uses as well. Alright, let's start off then. We have a North Carolina game. Tier 9 matchmaking, that's pretty okay. I mean, ideally of course you always hope for that tier 68, but it's becoming rarer and rarer at tier 8, so at this point you take what you can get. No carrier. That's pretty... I mean, the ANC is one of those battleships that don't really care if there's a carrier or not. In fact, you can get better XP if there is a carrier, because you get to shoot down a bunch of planes. But, on the other hand, carriers tend to mean you're spotted a lot more, which means you can't use your excellent concealment to your advantage as much as you would want to. 3 DDs. CN Young is a bit annoying, since deepwater torps are so hard to deal with. I mean, you basically have to know exactly where the DD is and always be angled in that direction. But if he plays very sneakily and never shows himself, deepwater torps can be a nightmare. Yugomo, Akatsuki. Yugomo, bigger threat. You do have the DD advantage though. They have a slight radar advantage. Donsko is a better radar ship than the Baltimore. Overall, the matchmaking isn't bad. It's pretty good. Your Shiratsuyu is moving up to scout. That's actually really good. Pushing up to support them, that's not a bad idea. In general, I kind of like to go closer here than wide like this. The reasoning is, if it turns out there's an overwhelming force here, or they're pushing up really heavily this flank, if you go this way, you can kind of just keep pushing to the island and turn around this way. Whereas if the overwhelming force shows up now, well, you kind of have to go behind this island and then turn away, and you're kind of in the open the entire way. You only really have this island to rely on. It's also harder to push up closer because there's so much empty space here. There's this empty open gap. That's why in general I like pushing closer to this island here and then going wide out if there's no one there. The reason for this is of course also that NC has very high arcing shells, which means you can actually use the terrain here and you can shoot over the terrain and catch people off guard. In fact, you can even shoot from stealth, meaning if they don't have fighter planes or spotter planes up, you can shoot without being detected and you can just lob shells over and catch people off guard. So in general, I prefer getting closer to cover instead of parking in the open like you are now. Note that you're also becoming quite isolated. Okay, so the CN Young is on this flank. CN Young is on this flank. Absolutely take the shot. Should have taken the shot. It's always worth any damage you can do to DDs, especially in the early game. Extremely valuable. If you can force the enemy DDs to play safe, to play defensive, if you can force them to be afraid of your teammates, your teammate DDs, that is a huge advantage. So I wish you would zoom in and look at these torps, because I'd love to count them. But it looked like... Is that sets of 4? Okay, let's see. We're gonna unlock the camera so we can look. 4, 4. Okay, so based on this we established, look, there's 2 sets of 4. There's 2 sets of them. 2x4 here, 2x4 there. That tells us the Yugomo is here. Yugomo popped up actually, so I think he got radared by the Baltimore. But the torps alone, you need to pay attention to that. You need to focus and count that shit. Because if you see torps coming your way, you can use it to deduce what kind of DDs you have on your flank. And the fact that we saw 16 torps coming our way, it tells us this Yugomo is running torpedo reload. Torpedo reload also tells us that it's unlikely he's going to try to contest any central positions. It's unlikely he's going to try to fight any of your DDs. What he's going to be doing is he's going to try to farm you. He's going to try to farm you for damage, he's going to try to farm the Duke of York for damage. In fact, you can bet that he's right now pushing up this flank to torp you. We can tell all this based on his consumable usage. So, always focus on the torpedo. You need to know this information. Okay, Duke of York is being an idiot. At this point, I want you to be full reverse. Give as much broadside as you dare to this Duke of York. and I want you basically to reverse away. You need to get away from this situation. You got a CN Young and a Yugamo on your flank, and you got a heavy enemy push coming your way. This is a recipe for a disaster. You need to get out of this position ASAP, because you are going to get torped. Absolutely going to get torped. And you need to get enough space so you can accelerate and get the hell out. In fact, turning right now is probably not a bad option at all. Turn hard right, get the hell out of here. This is a completely volatile position that cannot be maintained at all. Your Baltimore is about to go down. Your rest of your team is already fleeing. This position has collapsed. The Yugoma, as I said, was exactly where I pointed. We could already tell this a couple of minutes ago based on his torpedo and consumable usage. So this was extremely predictable. He was dumb enough to go so close to you that he got spotted, which is of course very kind of him. But a better Yugoma player would not have gotten spotted. But that's something you need to keep in mind. Count the torpedoes early on. Count the torpedoes. It gives you so much information of how the enemy DD intends to play the game. That's 4. Remember, we know he has torpedo reload. We know he has torpedo reload, so we know there's another set coming. Because we counted the torpedoes early on in the game, we know there is another set coming. So you might want to even change your course, adjust it slightly, because you can expect torps to be coming this way. Absolutely can expect them to be coming this way. I would go for the Duke of York. See, the reason why you should go for the Duke of York instead of the Friedrich Grosse there is Friedrich Grosse is unlikely to do any damage to you from that range with his guns. Another reason is, you see how many shells of yours bounced? That's because the Friedrich Grosse actually has really good armor. The Duke of York, on the other hand, is a tier 7 battleship, and you can overmatch his armor. So you would have done massive damage to the Duke of York, whereas you barely tickled this Friedrich der Grosse. Another reason is that the Duke of York is probably shooting HE, which means you can't really angle against the incoming fire. Note that the Yugoma is moving around like this, absolutely guaranteed. He's pushing this flank. So be careful when you dodge. Be careful to not maintain the same speed, to not maintain the same course. You need to be actively switching course, actively switching speeds, and making yourself as hard of a target as possible. Because this Yugamo is absolutely pushing deeper around like this, and he will be torping you from the broadside. DDs want to get to your broadside. That is the best angle to torpedo from. So we know he runs torpedo reload, so we know his goal is to just constantly torp you. That's what he's going to be doing all game. So you need to keep in mind that there will be additional torps coming from your flank any moment. Shooting the Maoka isn't a bad idea, but at this point you really want to disengage from this position, absolutely. And I would probably point your guns to the Algerie. Help your team get rid of the Algerie. Be very careful with putting this island on your left. I would maybe take risk taking additional hits just to get away this way. There's the torps I warned you about. The Yugoma went exactly where I predicted. Luckily his volley was slightly off, and it seems you will be able to dodge it. Very close. But that's something, you know, this confirmed his path that we suspected earlier, which means he's continuing this way around. So he's somewhere around here. The good thing is he used his torps, so you can now go on the right side of this island without worries. If that enemy DD had been a smarter player, he would have waited until you were here and torped now. The reason why putting an island on your left is risky is because it limits your dodging opportunities. Which means if he had been aiming to torp you around here, he would most likely have hit them because you wouldn't have had anywhere to change your course. So you always want to be careful when you put any sort of terrain between you and a DD. At this point you should be communicating with your team, informing them, like pinging here, telling your Yugoma, enemy DD is here. You're spotted, you know you're spotted. The only thing that can spot you. Nice, you're pinging! That's good. That's exactly what I want to see. That's exactly what I want to see. Okay, Yugoma seems to be a bit on the glue eating side. But that's exactly what I want to see. You need to communicate with your team. No, not everyone might read a chat, everyone might pay attention, but to the players that actually do, that kind of information is extremely valuable. Nice, the Yuguma gets spotted. At this point, I would probably turn hard left and try to get my guns on him. You want to shoot this guy. Okay, you have already committed, now you can't change course anymore because the torps are bracketing you. I would slow down. Slow down, slow down, slow down. Okay, note, if you are in a situation where you are being forced to sail in a direct line because there's torpedoes coming on both sides, it's usually recommended to slow down and let the torps go past you, and once the torps have passed, then you continue on. The problem with coming around the corner like that was you were locked into a straight course without the option to dodge because of those torpedoes. And you came out behind an island giving full broadside to everyone. So in that situation, when you know that you're not going to be able to dodge, slow down and let the torps go past you. And once the torps have passed you, then you can come around the island and you can angle and so forth. But that kind of risk, if these guys had been paying more attention, they would have punished you extremely heavily for that. So do not let yourself get forced into a direct line. And that doesn't just apply to battleship, that applies to everyone. A very common trick is carriers drop torpedoes from behind you, and then they force you to sail in a straight line. And the common thing people do is they sail away full speed, trying to outrun them, instead of just slowing down and letting them pass them on both sides. Keep in mind the Akatsuki has been spotted here, so you must keep in mind that there's a possibility of a DD being here. A DD was spotted a long time ago here. He's probably chasing this Duke of York, harassing this flank. So you need to keep in mind of this possibility. In fact, if I was you, I would pop my spotter plane right now. I would pop the spotter plane simply to give you more possible scouting. More warning about incoming DDs, more warning about incoming torps. Just give you more information. In fact, help you shoot over these islands. Oh, the Akatsuki is in fact down here, but he went this way instead of going wide like this, which is pretty fortunate for you because there's very little torpedo risk right now. Generally, you want to chill though. Like, you want to play safe. You want to get that heal going as soon. Please click that heal. You need to get your healing up. Most of the damage you have taken has been HE and fire damage. And the good thing about fire damage is that it's light damage. And light damage can be 100% healed by the healing consumable. It heals 100% of dot damage, aka light damage. So you can regain a lot of health. You can go back up to about 30k health. You just need to chill a bit, and you need to let yourself get back up to that health. Once again, I would pop spotter plane, absolutely. You know there's a Donskoy here. Get that plane up. Thank you. Preferably, I would have loved to seen it a bit earlier, but this works. Oh, he's giving you perfect broadside. That's good. Remember, Donskoys are extremely fast. Yeah. Not enough lead. That's actually very common with Donskoys, and that's because people underestimate their speeds. I tended to do it for a really long time. I kept underestimating the speed of Donskoys. Donskoy is one of the fastest cruisers in the game, and you need to take a big lead whenever you shoot them. Shoot the Akatsuki. Lower, lower. I think that was a bit too high. Once again, big issue here is you pushed. You pushed. There was no reason to push. I would have loved to see you just... When I told you here you needed to chill, you just should have chilled. You could have easily healed up significantly more, but by pushing down past this island, you were in this position, you were still safe. You were in pretty good position. You could support your rune against the DD, you could support your rune against the Donskoy, but the second you decided to push past this island, you opened yourself up to a crossfire. And that's something you can never do. You can never allow yourself to be crossfired in a North Carolina. This thing is tanky as long as it's angled, but as soon as you get broadside, it breaks apart. Right. Let's check out the next replay. Let us check out the next replay. What other? Has anyone been linking anything? Has anyone been linking anything? Let's see. Hindi with... First time Hindi with potato, Captain. Okay. Might check out that one. I often play very risky in my Grozovoi. Usually that is not a good idea. Ocean game, that's kind of rare matchmaking. Flamu, missing your captain build discussion on Momentary Meta on YouTube now for about a year. I guess I could make an updated captain guide. Let's see. Let's check out this Hindenburg game. I like the Hindenburg in general. So let's see. We did feature Hindenburg fairly recently, but I guess we can check it out. This is your last chance, by the way, to get any replays of the last few days, because tomorrow the update will arrive in EU, which means my client will be patched, and knowing Wargaming, old replays will most likely not work anymore. So keep that in mind. The in-game username is different. Roger. Flamu, how to deal damage constantly in the Z52? Torps whenever you can. There's multiple build options for the Z52. You can go full torpedo damage, or you can go full gun damage, or you can even go hybrid build. You can go some sort of strangers build where you go full AA as well. There's plenty of options, but usually anyone give you broadside, AP damage. The AP on the Z52 is monstrous, as long as you get a broadside. Can you do NA replays? I mean, I do. I don't care from which region you are. If you're a sub on my Twitch, I'll probably cover it. Can confirm that the patch breaks replays on my NA client. Fair enough. Right, let's focus on this game. Carrier, tier 8, not an issue. Stock consumables, oh my lordy lord. Okay, this I dislike. You should absolutely always run premium repair and probably premium heal as well. The rest aren't nearly as important, but these two, especially the premium repair, the premium damage con, that is an absolute must-have. Matchmaking, once again, tier 8 carrier, not that much of an issue. Hindenburg AA is very strong. Even without defensive AA, a tier 8 carrier will most likely not come anywhere close to you. The fact that you only have 2 heals means that you're also not running Superintendent. You have 13.1 km concealment. Wait, what mod? You're not running the proper module then? Is that 13.1 concealment? That is not. I think, doesn't Hindenburg have 12.3? You're missing concealment expert, or you're missing the module. So you're not running Superintendent, and you're not running the. First of all, your captain is in retraining. Okay, that's the reason. That is an acceptable explanation. That would explain the bad concealment. That will also explain the lack of Superintendent. Okay, well, okay. Those are, as long as you're aware of these issues. If it's captain retraining, that's perfectly acceptable. You are aware that you're detected, of course, which means there's a DD right here. In general, I would love to see you go wide here. You are spotted, so you're not unlikely to catch him by surprise. I would love to see you go wide. Don't give broadside, go wide. The problem here is, while you are tunnel visioning on this guy, you are giving full broadside to anyone shooting you from here. And if a battleship pops up, note that battleships will have just as good concealment as you do it right now. If a battleship pops up right now, he's gonna wreck you. So I did not like going around full broadside like that. You should have turned wide like this. You would have still been able to punish the Zhao without any issues, but you wouldn't have put such a massive risk on yourself as you did because of the course you took. I think you're underestimating battleships. Montana, Missouri, whatever could have, or even the Yamato could have blapped you. So too much broadside when coming around a corner, too much tunnel vision. If you have a double fire on yourself, like in this case, and it's someone who's unlikely to be following it up, you can instantly damage con. You ate a lot of unnecessary damage there that could have been avoided because the risk of you being set on fire or eating a torp was very low. So that was a situation where you should have damage gone to double fire instantly. So if it's replays from past patches, you can't view them. Like from older patches than the current one, not really. Especially considering you're so strained for heals, you need to be really smart with your repair usage. Because you only have one heal left now. So that's actually a pretty damn huge issue. Spotter plane plus HE, that is perfectly fine. I like it. In general, you want to start closing the distance. This Yamato is in huge trouble, actually. You want to keep putting pressure on him. In general, I want you to basically sail straight this way and just keep harassing the Yamato whenever you can. And the Yamato, if he's dumb enough to shoot, which he is, you just need to keep putting pressure on him. He's your priority target. The Chapaev isn't really a big deal. At this range, you struggle to hit the Chapaev anyway because the shells are so floaty. Just burn the Yamato to death. The Yamato is overextended. Switch to the Kagero. You want to help your... You want to shoot the Kagero. This is not good. Yamato is going to be there after you deal with the Kagero. The Kagero, on the other hand, can be a huge problem for your entire team if you let him sit there on the flank. Absolutely, DDs take priority. It also gives you better XP, it also gives you better rewards to kill DDs than it does shooting at the Yamato. So you absolutely want to be focusing this guy. You should still be going full speed. I don't know why you slowed down. You can absolutely be going full speed and just closing the distance with this Yamato, while at the same time shooting this Kagero.
I think I'm much more humble than you would understand.
Wait, what?
1 month away from maximum WTR.
I think you're expecting this DD to make moves that he's not actually making. Denoro, thank you for the 11 months. Much appreciated. Because that aim was very questionable. Both times you shot on his right side. Oh shit, it was bugging into... It was replay bug. Both times it felt like you were expecting the DD to make a move to the right that he never actually made. A common thing that I see in many of these replays that I watch from people is that people aim too high when using... the spotter plane. When you use the spotter plane, you actually have to aim lower than when you would shoot without using the spotter plane. You have to aim lower, because the change in perspective means that you're actually aiming at the water surface from a different angle, and that means you have to aim lower than you normally would. And a lot of people struggle with this. They aim far too high while using the spotter plane. Usually just using the spotter plane a lot tends to correct this mistake. People learn, but in general you want to change that. Boomsiv, thank you for the cheer. Once again, you should be going full speed. I don't know why you're this far away. I see no real reason why you're this far away from this guy. He's completely preoccupied with your team. You should be closing the distance a long time ago and just farming him significantly harder than you're farming him now. At this point, turning around and defending is an option, but the fundamental issue here is if your carrier doesn't spot the Shima, then you're gonna have to constantly keep an eye out for the Shima. You do have Hydra though, so it might not be that bad of an idea. You should be absolutely farming this Yamato though. This Yamato has been living far too long. Like, I feel like you missed a bunch of potential damage that you could be farming on this Yamato. Note that you can absolutely aim for his nose. It looks like you're doing that now. The nose of pretty much all battleships, even high tier ones, is 32 mil. And you overmatch, or well, HE penetrates 32 millimeters, which means that when you shoot battleships with HE, you can absolutely aim for the tip of their nose. Like, you can even aim for the waterline at the front of the ship. And as long as the bow isn't saturated, you can still do massive damage to them. Oh well, massive and massive. You do normal damage, but you don't get any shatters. So it's a very good source of damage. So you're switching to AP. Good, I like that. You activated your Hydra. I was about to say you need to do that. That's good. Your carrier was kind enough to give you a quick scout of the cap, so it I assume the Shimakaze has actually gone through the middle north. That is good. The Montana is out of position, so you're 1 versus 1 versus an Alabama, and this is actually something that Hindenburg can easily win. It's not even a 1 versus 1, he's focused on your team, so you can easily farm this guy. In general, you want to aim a bit higher though. You want your shells to land around here, where my mouse is pointing. You kind of want to hit the upper belt / superstruct, exactly there. You see the damage you do when you hit that spot? This is the golden spot for pretty much all battleships. The armor is thinner, close to the superstructure, and you get a ton of pens. And that's where you get those juicy 10k volleys on other battleships, and that's usually the spot you want to be farming. If the superstructure is saturated, then it's better to shoot the stern or the bow, even if you're shooting from the side, because once again, bow and stern are both 32mm, and your AP can easily pen it if you're shooting broadside battleships. So if you think the superstructure is saturated, that's when you want to start shooting the bow and the stern, and you can get really juicy damage there as well. This guy though, he was completely fresh when he came around the corner, meaning he had taken almost no damage, which means he was probably not saturated, which means shooting superstructure was perfectly fine. You want to be pushing through the camp. Actually, you already have the win, so it's not necessary. I would finish the hipper. Finish the hipper first. In fact, you could be closing this. It's a bit risky, but honestly, at this point, you could just be going hand. Angle towards the Montana, kill hipper, kill Chapayev, try to YOLO torp the Montana. That is something that would be a really ballsy play. Because your team has won the game at this point. It's highly unlikely you will lose it. Your DD is helping Cap. Your carrier is dropping the Montana. Your Kurfürst is forcing him to stay angled. You could easily go for the push now. There's no real reason to reverse. At this point, aggression. You're using, I assume, my build, because you got 17.8 km range, which means, or if not using my build, you're at least using the reload mod, which means you actually want to get close. So, closing the distance to the Montana, highly recommended. You can shred him. Chapayev kind enough to give you broadside, but at this point, yeah, absolutely should be closing the distance and just getting into his face. One good advantage of getting close to the Montana is once you get within about 8 to 9 kilometers of him, he won't be able to citadel you anymore. And when he can't citadel you anymore, that's when things get really scary for him, when you keep closing the distance. Closer. Your turrets haven't turned yet. See, this is one of those cases where you're angling like your turrets have turned. Your ship is angled like your turrets have turned and you can shoot, but you can't yet. So until you can shoot, you should be closing the distance and just using your front guns. Only now, when you can actually shoot these back guns, only now should you be bothering to take the angle you're taking. And only now should you bother to, shoot all your guns. This is something you see battleships do, and you also see cruisers do it. They give unnecessarily much broadside, and they miss out on opportunities to close the distance because they act like their turrets have already traversed, not taking into account how long it actually takes for the turrets to traverse. Is it 8 to 9? It depends on shell velocity, Master Suck. Ultimately, it depends on shell velocity. Like, a Des Moines can citadel a Hindenburg, I think, even within 6 kilometers. And that's because the shells, or Des Moines shells, are like, blop, these little arcs, and it just plunges into the citadel. Whereas some ships, like German battleships, struggle to citadel a Hindenburg within 10 kilometers. Because they have such shell velocity and such flat arcs that the shells just go right over the citadel. So it's kind of a flexible number in that sense. That's very much a dead Shimakaze. The carrier is hiding somewhere. I don't think there's too much to talk about this game. Wow, this Montana is really upset. that the Corfos kept kiting him away. German battleships struggle to hit ships. Yeah, that too. But they also struggle to hit citadels. And the Shikaku is gonna get farmed and he's gonna get killed. You should be using AP. Switch to AP. Switch to AP. If you get broadside like this, you should absolutely be using AP. This entire flat thing is one big juicy AP fiesta. So what? But you very chicken hide like destroyer. I swear some battleships don't even understand that they're being outplayed when someone kites them. They just go, "Ha, you're such a coward. I'm winning because I'm forcing you to run away," never really understanding that they're being debated to death. As soon as he starts angling, switch to HE. The strength of German AP is huge value, like huge damage values, and the fact that you can pump out so much of it. The weakness is the penetration angles are terrible, and the penetration in general is pretty goddamn weak. Right, let's see, what other do we have? What other games do we have? Someone linked something in chat. Shit, usually I want you to link them now, because otherwise I just miss them. Average damage Atlanta game. 102k damage Kraken. Wow, that looks very average. Looks like everyone's average game. Okay, we got the Grozovoi game and we got an Akatsuki game. Battle is over. That there's no actual picture. Oh wait, here's a picture. Okay, let's check out an Akatsuki game. His comment was, "I can't do damage in IGN-DDs." Now, the fundamental issue right now with pure torpedo boats. The fundamental issue with pure torpedo boats in this game is that, first of all, Wargaming keeps adding counters to DDs, or keeps adding counters to torpedoes. There used to be a time where Hydro was specific to their cruisers, but that has all changed a lot since then. We got DDs with Hydro, we got BBs with Hydro, like everyone and their sister has ways to deal with torps these days. So that has significantly impacted it. They've also increased the detection range a lot on especially IGN DD torps. So dealing damage in IGN DDs is pretty goddamn tricky, because you gotta hit someone who's not able to detect your incoming torps, and even then you need to hit them for pretty much full broadside. Now, like US DDs and German DDs, they can kind of torp from this kind of angle. They can torp from this kind of angle, and because their torps has such good stealth, the target they're torping will most likely eat one or two anyway. But if you try to do that in an IGN DD, the torp concealment is so terrible that they will spot them in time and do exactly this. They will turn into the torps and dodge them. So that's the big issue with the terrible concealment on the IGN torps. And because of this terrible concealment, it means whenever you torp someone in an IGN DD, you pretty much have to go for that juicy, almost perfect angle, meaning this kind of angle. You want to get as much broadside as possible, forcing them, even if they see them and try to turn, they'll still eat the couple. Matchmaking wise, only 3 BBs. That's pretty bad for a IGN DD, mostly because you struggle to hit much else than battleships. So you want to see as many battleships as possible. Carrier is an issue. Luckily it's a Ranger. Luckily, because Rangers don't have that many squads, so they usually can't really spare squads just for DD spotting, even if they are especially good at playing it. They also struggle to drop you because they only have 1 torpedo squad. Belfast, that is really the biggest issue. Belfast is notoriously overpowered, hard counters DDs. It's a very nasty opponent. Enemy DD wise though, you're pretty good. Gaede, terrible concealment, you outspot him by a mile. Well, actually, Akatsuki concealment isn't that good. Minikaze managed to get himself spotted, that's great. You outgun him heavily. You outgun the Mutsuki as well. Shiratsuyu is probably the biggest threat on that enemy team, because he outspots you and he's got a fair amount of gun power as well. That is good. Gaeta got himself spotted. There's no reason to smoke up for you at this point, simply because there's no one who can really deal damage to you besides the DD, so there's really no point. You're looking at your captain right now. I see no survivability expert. That is a problem. The ordered priority for pretty much every single DD, at least this is my opinion. You go preventive maintenance or priority target, which one depends on your opinion. Last stand, survivability expert, concealment expert. That's the order of captain perks. And this build means that you don't have survivability expert. And that becomes an especially big problem when you face something like this Gaeta, who's obviously running survivability expert and has 18k health when you have 13k. The guy has like 50% more health than you do. And that's a pretty big issue. At this point you probably want to stop shooting. Belfast has been spotted here. Belfast has been spotted on the minimap. That's what you want to be torping. None of these others are nearly as important or valuable. No one gives a shit. Like these Königsberg, who gives a shit? Mutsuki, you shit on a Mutsuki. This is the guy you want to be focusing on. The Belfast is your hard counter. The Belfast is the one that can carry their entire team. The Belfast is the #1 target. That's the one you want to be torping. Pretty risky opening fire. Mostly because the incoming damage you could potentially take from Nagata, Belfast, Königsberg. The incoming fire you could take could be significant. I probably wouldn't have opened fire there. I don't think it's really worth it. Especially with the Nagato here, that battleship AP could be scary. You note that the Belfast actually stopped and smoked up. So what you want to do right now is you want to sail up here, you want to torp the Belfast, and you want to get the hell out. I would probably even pop my speed boost just to close the distance as quickly as possible and get my torps off in there. It's pay fast? Yeah, I mean, I consider the Belfast straight up overpowered. I considered it overpowered when it was released. I still consider it overpowered. I don't understand why they gave a tier 7 cruiser the option to mount a tier 8 module.
You're not known to be a humble man, but I
Switch to
wonder-
AP. Switch to AP.
I think I'm much more humble than you would understand.
Okay, missed opportunity here. Should be switching to AP. Absolutely should be switching to AP here. You could sit that. Okay, big missed opportunity here. The Königsberg at this close range, you can easily citadel him. You could have done massive damage to him. So, really big missed opportunity here. You could have killed him. You could have easily killed him in this opportunity. So, I think that was a miss, a really big miss. When when a lower tier cruiser, especially ships like Königsberg, Omaha, ships that have really significant citadels, Kirov, if they give you broadside like this, switch to AP and just citadel the shit out of them. Well, that's a very dead Mutsuki. You might want to be slowing down here. Because you're sailing... Okay, you know what happened here? He didn't get into cover. You went into cover. You had the advantage in that fight. You had a massive advantage. In fact, you could have killed him there, but you didn't take the opportunity to slow down and shoot another volley and kill him. So, too fast and basically allowed him to get away. Not worth taking the risk to get hydroed or radared? First, Königsberg radar couldn't reach you. Königsberg was 5.5 km away. Königsberg radar has a range of 5.1. So he could easily have smoked up and shot. If the Belfast decided to radar, well then you just keep sailing away. If you can force a Belfast radar on someone who's already far away and able to disengage easily, that would have been fantastic. Königsberg, did I say Königsberg radar? I meant Königsberg Hydro. Königsberg Hydro has a range of 5.1. So absolutely he should have taken the opportunity to kill the Königsberg there. Absolutely he should have taken the opportunity. And the Belfast got wrecked soon. I don't know if it died before or after the fight, But the Belfast was getting wrecked by torps and guns and everything, so the Belfast wasn't even a threat. There was absolutely no reason not to kill the Königsberg there. I completely disagree, Lulu Snail. I completely disagree. Angle straight away. This is good. Show him your stern. And use the back guns to harass. That's perfect. Is he actually gonna hit one of your torps? That would be even better. No, he's not that bad. But you wanna just keep getting the hell out of there. If you can get behind this island, that would be optimal. You got your smoke coming up, that's perfect. Pop your smoke as you flee. Pop your smoke. I would pop my smoke here, because 3k health, he can really punish you here. You don't want to get knocked down to 1 health, even if you can save your smoke. I don't think it's worth saving the smoke here, because the risk you're taking is too significant. Even if he didn't kill you, he might have chunked you down to very, very low HP. Okay, he's extremely potato, which is pretty lucky, but I still think you should have smoked up there. That should have happened significantly sooner, twice. But yeah, that Shira was pretty potato. I think unnecessary risk. Eugene143, thank you for the 7 months. And Mr. Gabo, thank you for the 12 months. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Smoking is healthy for you. Confirmed by Flamu. Wait, did you get golden potato? It wasn't 2, it was 12. Oh shit. God damn. That is pretty spicy. The golden potato. Why did I read that as 2 months? Maybe I'm just retarded. And Captain Sarcasto with the 11 months.
I think I am actually humble. I think I'm much more.
This is
humble
obviously
than you
C.
understand.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same thing. I'm looking at how passive everyone is playing and like how people are still hiding back here. And how these are still hiding back here. It's pretty obvious this is C server. For those that aren't aware, the C server is extremely passive. They like playing extremely stationary, extremely campy. They will rarely push anywhere. They will rarely aggress anywhere. This looks very much like the C server. So many golden potato plebs, confirmed. Flamu ranked on C or acid eye drops. That's a tough one. Oh. Pimpsverg Sui. Thank you for the 13 months. Much appreciated. What would be the best move for the enemy
all
now?
the content since over 1 year.
Well,
THX for all the stuff. Smile.
much appreciated. Crud40, thank you for the sub as well. I mean, the enemy, first of all, these guys should have been moving a long time ago. We have a majority of our forces here, and it has been spotted as of being here. So the enemy team should have long since mobilized and taken C. Like, they should have taken C and then reinforced at B to form a line like this. That which would have helped this flank as well. So these guys should have long since like been here helping. But at this point it's already too late. Like, they're down to 3 ships. The game is pretty much over. But if they would pay attention to the minimap, then they could have long since steamrolled C, supported B, and basically horseshoe shaped around this team. You can drop torps. I would absolutely drop torps. Oh, that is unlucky timing. The spotting plane probably spotted all your torps just now. This Furtaka is going to turn hard left and dodge everything. That was a bit unfortunate with the fighter plane timing. The widespread is also debatable. Usually, if you want to make like a spread, it's better to shoot narrow, narrow, narrow. and then combined they make this big, basically, fan of torpedoes that's very hard to dodge. If you shoot narrow, narrow, wide, then there's a huge gap in the middle. That's completely RNG based and significantly less reliable. World invader. He just invaded that rock. He invaded the shit out of that rock. Alright, well this game is pretty much over. I'm a bit surprised you used all your torps on that. I thought you would save a volley for the Bayern here, since you're basically about to YOLO him. Well, it's a bit late now. It looks like the Bayern is about to die. How are your torps looking? He's gonna accelerate. The question is he gonna get away from it? You are spotted by the Bayern. That should be fine. Oh. His secondary... See, you know what's happening right now? You're actually pretty lucky that you survived. You went down to 700 health, and that was because you stubbornly refused to smoke earlier against the Shiratsuyu. That was extremely close to dying, simply because of what I consider an unnecessary risk earlier. Let's check out the I'll check out the Grozovoi replay next. Since it's ocean. You don't see ocean too often. Damn, sea is boring. Yeah, that was one of the reasons I stopped playing on sea. I got to tier 8 on IGN DDs and IGN cruisers, but I just stopped playing because the server was just too passive. I didn't consider it very fun. Do you need a mod to save replays? I don't know. I don't think so. So, ocean. Matchmaking wise, biggest issue is the Donskoy. Absolutely the biggest issue right now is the Donskoy. The Midway, kind of an issue, but I mean, you're a Grozovoi, you're smart enough to run defensive AA. You're not running AFT, which is very debatable. Not running, wait, actually, can we toggle this on? You are running AFT. Okay, that's never mind. You are running AFT, I like it. I take back my harsh words. You are running AFT, you wouldn't have 13.2k range otherwise. So you're running AFT and you're running defensive AA, which means you kind of want to be farming those planes as much as possible. So that's not really... The Midway is not really the biggest issue for you. One gearing, one Shima, one Yugumo. You can kind of take... The fact that they have a DD division can be nasty if they know how to work together. The biggest weakness of the Grozovoi is the fact that it's really large. The size of the Grozovoi is the biggest downside. It's one big, fat, clumsy cruiser, almost. It's almost as big as a small cruiser. And what this means is that battleships love shooting you because it's so easy to deal massive damage to.
Kappa.
Ace Niels, thank you for the 3 months. No worries, man. Much appreciated. And, oh well, look. He's coming your way. Pop defensive A, focus fire him if he gets close. Yeah, he's coming. Pop it now. You should absolutely be popping it already. You knew he was going to spot you anyway. So, okay. If this carrier knew what he was doing, he'd be dropping you instantly. Okay, that was a failed drop. He dropped too close. Wow, that carrier really potato. Friendly fighter showed up, which is actually really good for you. The reason that friendly fighter showing up was so incredibly important is that if that friendly fighter hadn't showed up, you would have lost vision of that torpedo plane, and he would have been able to drop your smoke from the side without ever being spotted. And he's actually hovering between you and the DDs, so you get early warning on the torps. That's fantastic. Even better, the enemy team is deploying like idiots. They're not pushing out fast. The best way to win Ocean is to quickly spread out and quickly support the caps. That way you basically force the enemy into crossfires and they get completely fucked. If you sit in your spawn like the enemy team is doing right now, well, you end up being surrounded. So the enemy team is really helping you out here. No one is here to shoot you, no one is here to punish you for pushing so offensively in the Grozovoi. This doesn't of course happen often, but when it does, we have to be grateful for the enemy being a potato. So thank you, enemy, for being a potato. Both the Gearing and the Shimakaze are here. And one of them managed to eat torps. Very impressive. You don't really want to push out and fight them. You don't really want to stay here. I would sit in the smoke. Oh, are you gonna get spotted? Yeah, you got plane spotted. That's not good. They are letting you cap. I don't think I would stay in this camp though. I think I would be bailing right now. You have a good chance to bail now. There's no planes around anymore. This would be the chance to get the hell out of there. You can come back for this cap later, but I wouldn't stay in this cap. Multiple reasons for not staying in this cap. First of all, a plane could come out at any point and spot you, and by this time, the enemy team is already here. This means the potential damage you could eat right now is fucking monumental. There's the plane I was worried about. This is exactly what I was worried about. And you're spotted. If the enemy battleships have any aim at all, you should be dead right now. Okay, if these guys have any aim at all, you should be dead right now. This is what it fundamentally comes down to. Do they have any aim at all? Okay, their aim is god awful. What the? You're a Grozovoi with a broken engine. At least I think the Donskoy knew how to aim. You should have died there. You should absolutely have died there. That should have been your death. Being forced to slow down to dodge torps as well. That should absolutely have been your death. If the enemy team hadn't been so incredibly potato, that should absolutely have been your death. You do not... First of all, if you see the entire enemy team coming towards your cap, that's already a good reason to disengage. If you have a cap advantage especially, that's really a good reason to disengage. There's no if you have two caps and the enemy is going to the one single cap they don't have, you do not want to be the only thing stopping them from getting it. Also, that was a good opportunity of the planes disengaging and your smoke fading. That was the perfect opportunity to bail. So you basically lost something like what, 12k damage, 12k health there. I think half your health at least, and it was really not worth it. You were very lucky for not dying there. But absolutely, next time, unnecessary risk. Very unnecessary risk. You have your smoke ready now though. The Donskoy is the threat, so you want to keep, and you want to stay 12 km away from the Donskoy at least at all times. That is really the fundamental distance you want to maintain. The Baltimore is luckily shooting a lot, which means he's staying spotted. That is great for you. If the Baltimore was smart, he would be stealthed and he would sneak up on you and he would fuck you up. But he's not smart enough to do that, so that's very good for you as well. Gearing let himself get spotted. Excellent. Easy chance to deal some damage. You should be slowing down in the smoke, by the way. I'm not sure why you're moving so quickly. I guess you want to spread out the smoke as much as possible? That's not necessarily a bad idea. But you missed out on a lot of damage because you turned around and your guns had to turn around. I think you might have been able to kill this gearing there. I'm pretty sure you could have killed this gearing if you hadn't done that entire U maneuver. Now, I don't think spreading out your smoke is a bad idea, but the way you did it, losing your two main guns on the gearing in order to do it, I don't think the trade-off was worth it, because the gearing survived. AR kicking in, of course. The Grozovoi, of course, has massive firepower. This is what, of course, sets the Grozovoi apart, is that it has incredible firepower. The gearing actually burns to death. Okay, the gearing, once again, the gearing being a potato doesn't mean that I approve of that move. But yeah, farming the Yamato is a great idea. And at this point they've lost all their DDs. And this is amazing for the Grozovoi. If all the enemy DDs die, then Grozovoi parties, because Grozovoi can actually get a really good concealment, which means it can easily sneak up and it can easily burn down multiple targets. Baltimore is pushing in, good time to disengage. You don't want to get caught with the radar there. Baltimore is doing a good job of catching every torp known to man. You should be calling target on him. I would probably open up fire. I think it's worth it. Absolutely worth it. Getting rid of their radar, that's a fantastic trade. That was absolutely worth it. Yes, you might get some battleship AP. Let's hope RNG doesn't hate you. It is a Grozovoi after all. RNG doesn't hate you. Good shit. Then it was absolutely worth it. If you have an opportunity to get rid of a radar cruiser at minimal cost to yourself, you should always take the opportunity. I do not want to know what these people down here are doing. I don't even want to know. Because that's the kind of positioning that makes me drag my hair out. Because that is so fucking stupid. On the good side, I mean, ideally these guys would be here. If these guys would be here, and this Missouri was a bit more aggressive here, and this Tirpitz wasn't running like a little girl, how much health does he have? Full HP, of course. What about the Missouri? Full HP, of course. What about the Gorforst? Full HP, of course. Classic battleships. If any of these battleships weren't such fucking battleships, then you would have an excellent surround on the enemy. But sadly they are all battleships, which means of course they're all fucking cowards, which means of course your position isn't nearly as good as it could be. I'm not sure, but what is this smoke for? You want to shoot Friede Groze? I don't know why you smoked up so far away though. I mean, is it C? I guess the Minotaur could be running radar. Have we seen the Minotaur smoke up once? If we haven't seen the Minotaur smoke up, I guess the risk of radar Minotaur exists. I guess we gotta consider that possibility. It is C. And isn't Euro like a religion on that server? That Minotaur is a goddamn idiot, that's for sure. People think it's a good idea on Reddit. Yeah. Let's just say, let's agree to disagree then. Okay, Donskoy pushed into radar range. That radar won't last long though. It already ran out. That was pretty obvious that radar was going to run out. If you get radared the second a cruiser enters radar range, then you know that he activated it before coming into your range. And this usually means that it's about to run out. Expect the torps, but you're already angled, so that's perfectly safe. I don't know, why did this Minotaur leave the smoke? What the hell is this guy doing? Is he afraid of the Missouri radar? Like, how far away is the Missouri? He is getting pretty close. He could be afraid of the radar. I don't know, this was such a stupid game because the enemy team played this so bad. This was a game that was lost extremely quickly by the enemy team, and it was lost extremely quickly because the enemy team positioned like idiots. They didn't take any map control. They didn't take any map control. They all sat in spawn afraid of moving out, and in doing so they gave up all map control. They allowed themselves to be surrounded. They gave up the game from the start. It's really sad start, honestly. You can't... For some reason people think that you can just sit in spawn and that's a good position, when it's in fact the worst position. Maybe Torp mission? How does that explain battleships hiding in spawn? Oh, you mean the Minotaur? I think he was avoiding the Missouri radar. But he was still playing that entire, like the entire scene, entire game he played weird. Wow, that was a questionable game. I disagreed with some things, especially you not disengaging as soon when you had a very good opportunity to disengage, and not taking that opportunity should have gotten you killed. But other than that, I think you played that pretty well, like overall. Some questionable choices, but I did already point them out. But overall, I don't think it was that bad of a game at all. Right. Hey, Shuya 90x. I came back after a 1-year break. You're still my #1 source of information and entertainment. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Shuya, and welcome back. Much appreciated. Right, I think it is time for some They Are Billions. I think we've been sorting through, I think, a good hour of replays or something.